Dr. Ruth Watkins, the incoming president of the University of Utah, thank you so much for being our guest on 3 Questions.
And thank you so much for the opportunity.
How significant is it that you are the very first female president of the University of Utah?
It's an enormous privilege to be named the president-elect of the University of Utah. And it does seem to be very important to many people in the community that I am the first female president of the institution. I have heard that from many members in the community, and I know it is an incredible honor and a privilege.
How will being the first female president of the university be any different from any of the other presidents who have not been female?
And that is a good question, and I've been asked that quite a few times over the past few days. Since I don't yet know, my best guess is it's going to be a whole lot like being president of the university, as it has been for President Pershing.
Were you surprised that they selected you as president of the university?
Surprised? Probably not, because I worked pretty hard for that. And but never lost on me what an incredible honor it is, because very talented people want to work at the University of Utah, and I had great competitors for the role.
When someone thinks of the University of Utah, they think about the athletics, they think about the School of Law, they think about the School of Medicine, they think about all the research that's going on there. It seems like an enormous operation. And to be asked to be the president over all of that, is that not a daunting idea?
You are absolutely right. It is a large, comprehensive institution with so many important and wonderful parts. What an opportunity to lead, but the comforting factor comes from the fact that we are filled with talented people in the institution in many roles. So I am not alone, but I do have the opportunity to represent and lead across all those areas that you mentioned.
What is perhaps the most daunting part of the job that you're about to embark upon?
The most daunting part, that is a good question and a little bit of a tricky one. I guess I would say at the moment, I feel very pleased that I have been at the institution for nearly 5 years, so I know many people and have what I think are very strong relationships inside the university and outside the university, and I think it is those strong relationships and the knowledge of the place that are preventing that from being so daunting at this point.
Now, you have been a senior vice president at the University of Utah since summer of 2013, correct? Yeah. So you know the lay of the land. You know pretty much what's going on there. As you survey the institution and the various colleges and schools that you'll be overseeing, what do you identify as an area that needs to be changed?
So I think as we think about where the university is now and the university's future, I would want to say by every measurable indicator, the U has never been stronger in terms of interest from students, the talented people that want to work with us, the research portfolio. We are in a very good place in terms of where we are beginning. As we think about our growth path and our change path, I would put a very sharp focus on students. We need to support students, not just from access in the door to the university, but ensuring completion of their degrees in a timely manner. And that is probably the sharpest focus we will have in the institution. We have been focusing very intently on that, and as we look to the future, that will remain absolutely critical.
Do you anticipate that the student population will increase, stay the same, or decrease?
Because we're in a state that is growing, and because the reputation and visibility of the university are growing, I think we are attracting many, many talented students, and I see growth on the horizon in that area.
Any idea by how much?
Good question. Probably can't really quite answer that. We have some work to do to kind of determine that growth plan. The important feature there is higher education and the completion of a degree changes lives. Transformative power of the degree. We want to be the university that welcomes talented students, and as I am becoming fond of saying, we are the University of Utah, but we're also the university for Utah, and it's important for us to keep that perspective in mind as we think about our growth responsibilities.
Outgoing President David Pershing said that he selected you as a senior vice president because you two share the same vision for the university. What are some of the things that you are going to continue on with that he initiated, and what are some of the things that you're going to add yourself or change?
So, of course, it's early days, so that is a great question, not entirely easy to answer. Of course, people in a university will support what they have the opportunity to help create, so there's some work going on even as we speak to help develop the plan and the answers to those questions. President Pershing was known for saying students are job one. I think that is a very important feature that carries on for both of us. As we look towards the future, kind of some vision, I can give you a few broad strokes, and I'd say the University of Utah has a remarkable edge in the value that we offer. Value being defined as the intersection of quality and affordability. We are a remarkable university, exceptional value. That is true in the health enterprise, that is true in the education of students. That advantage that we have through value is an edge I am not willing to give up, and we want to use that and use that to help us move ahead as an institution.
There are those who say that a college education is not as valuable now as it was in years past, that they can get schooling and training in other settings and in other forums. When you consider the cost of education and you consider the amount of time that it takes to get a college education and postgraduate degrees and that kind of thing, whatever field you're going into, what would you say to those folks who insist that college is not as valuable as it used to be?
I would say post-secondary education remains the most powerful tool for social transformation, for changing lives. It doesn't have to be the same for every student. There are different pathways that are the right fit for different individuals, all of them valid. But when you look at the difference in lifelong earning, in risk of unemployment, in risk of poverty, the advantages to individuals who have post-secondary education, not just some college, but the completion of certificate, credential, baccalaureate degree, there is no question that the powerful influence on lives remains with post-secondary education.
You are stepping into a situation that has had some volatility over the last year. I mean, Dr. Pershing is departing early because of a situation that came about with Huntsman Cancer Institute, wherein Dr. Mary Beckerly was fired and then rehired, and John Huntsman Sr. got upset and was in the newspaper and all of those kinds of things. What changes have been made since that time to guarantee that that kind of a thing won't ever happen again?
The support of donors and community are really the margin of excellence for the University of Utah. Those elements of the university's outreach and connection to community are absolutely vital, and what in turn benefits and supports the institution moves things forward. I think that we remain deeply committed to the individuals that we serve and with whom we engage, and how those individuals help the University of Utah move forward.
So what does that mean for the relationship with Huntsman Cancer Institute?
I think that means that we are closely connected. They're a very important part of the institution, as is the entire health operation, and that those relationships and those connections are vital, strong, important, and will be a central part of the future.
There are those who say that athletics plays way too big of a role in higher education. What say you?
One of the things that I've enjoyed so much since moving to Utah is the remarkable support of the community for the U and our membership in the Pac-12. I think the pride that this community has and the investment this community has in the institution, a fair amount of that, the front porch, is athletics. We engage with many prospective students, with many families, with many members of the community through sports. An important part of the institution, and one that needs to be connected to the rest of the institution for health and long-term success at the U.
Critics will look at the athletic department and its budget and go, holy cow, they spend that much money and it's that big of a business? couldn't those resources be placed more in research, or in cancer research and treatment, or in entrepreneurial kinds of things, or in the law school, or those kinds of things? Not do away with athletics at all, but I mean, being part of the Pac-12, that costs money.
Again, an insightful question, and I would come back and say being part of the Pac-12 has created visibility for the University of Utah, has helped us attract talented students and faculty, and has had significant benefits for the institution.
Several years ago, Dr. Chris Hill, who is the athletic director at the University of Utah, mentioned that there is an arms race of sorts going on in hiring and retaining athletic coaches. And certainly, you being at the school for as long as you have seen that kind of thing going on, and in your comings and goings around higher education prior to coming here. How do you keep a balance between getting good people, getting good coaches, as you say, that are on the front porch of the school, retaining them, and keeping those salaries and costs in line and under control? How do you reach that balance?
Again, you ask good questions, Bob. I think insightful questions. And the issue of how we compete and where we are and what our aspirations are for the university, it's an important part of that question. We need to have the conversation be aligned on our values and our goals and our directions. And I think that those issues of competing for talent are every bit as true in the academic arena as they are in the athletic arena. And a strong element here is setting our compass on the institution we want to be, the institution we are and strive to be, and the important elements of that, and being effective in being part of the competition and making sure that we are able to attract and retain top talent in the academic arena and in the athletic arena.
I remember years ago, before you came, Rick Majerus, it was reported, was the highest paid government employee in the state of Utah, and rightly so. I mean, the man built the basketball program at the University of Utah just very beautifully. But there are those who would go, wait a minute, he's a basketball coach, or wait a minute, Kyle Whittingham, he's a football coach. Shouldn't we be paying a doctor his salary, or another researcher his salary? Forgive me for continuing down this line, but I think there is this continuing debate over what is more valuable, not only to the university but to society as a whole.
And I think it is wise to be asking those questions. And my guess is that we could ask many people and they would have very different views about those issues. Important questions, relevant questions, certainly at the U, but across higher education in general.
When you are installed as president of the University of Utah, what's the first thing you're going to do?
The first thing I'm going to do? That is a question that I have not been asked. That's a good one. My guess is what I have found to be absolutely vital to any of the initiatives that we've had at the U, to making things happen, is ensuring that many people have voice and join in the decision making. So during this period between now and when I formally assume the role, I think the first, foremost, maybe absolutely vital thing that I'm doing is listening and talking with a lot of people, both about where we are and what their aspirations are for their university over the next few years. The voice of those who will make things happen is very critical as we shape the future and where we want to go as an institution.
I take it you're very optimistic about the future of the University of Utah.
I am very optimistic about the future.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
I think I would say on why I'm optimistic about the institution in the future. First, because by every measurable indicator, we have never been stronger. Talented students want to come to us, larger numbers of applicants. Students are staying with us. 9 of every 10 freshmen come back for their sophomore year. Students are staying through their degrees. Our research dollars have hit an all-time high in terms of overall funding. There's been a wonderful, steady trajectory of talented people that want to come to the University of Utah from the best institutions in the country. That tells us we are doing great things in a great place. We're also so fortunate to be in the state with arguably the strongest economy in the nation. So we are a vibrant institution in an environment that is equally vibrant, with a community of supporters that want to help us along the way. I don't think it gets much better than that.
Supporters of BYU want to know why the University of Utah doesn't like them.
I think the University of Utah appreciates, welcomes our partners at BYU. At the leadership level, we have many great relationships. We go to meetings together. There are a number of healthy partnerships. I could say in the area of languages, for example, we have shared language centers, an Asia Center, Latin American Center. There are strong partnerships between the U of U and BYU.
But how do we get University of Utah students to like students at BYU?
My guess is, Bob, that at the level of the individual, people like each other very much.
The Me Too movement has gained a lot of steam lately, and just recently we heard of the disgraced U.S. gymnastics team doctor, being convicted and sentenced for abusing young athletes. I know it's, I mean, the Red Rocks and women's gymnastics are huge at the university. What is being done to protect those young athletes from anything similar happening?
The University of Utah cares very deeply about the well-being of our student athletes, and all of our students, the larger student community. Last year, throughout the year, we had a student safety task force at work. That task force made a number of recommendations for safety and well-being that cover a wide range, from lighting and ensuring safe walks around campus, as well as making sure that our students are well informed about sources of help and support and reporting concerns. I think we have made significant investments in both helping our students know the sources of support and doing our best to provide a safe campus environment. That work will continue, is a very important part of what universities and institutions of higher ed need to do going forward.
So if I have a daughter who is a gymnast, I can feel safe in sending her to the University of Utah, knowing that nothing like what happened at the U.S. Olympic team could ever happen at the U.
I certainly think the U has the safeguards and efforts in place to be sure that there is strong both education and strong checks and balances to support the safety and well-being of all of our students.
All right. Dr. Ruth Watkins, the incoming president of the University of Utah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of Three Questions.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for the opportunity to visit with you.
You bet.